All right, guys, what's happening? What's happening? It's Thursday, August 12th, 2021, man. I'm sorry. I'm running a little late this morning. I got home super late last night, which I was telling somebody this morning. I kind of felt a little guilty, man, because I'm like, I am complaining about being able to get on a plane that flies through the air and get somewhere super quick. I'm complaining about how long it takes to be able to get on that plane, man. I need some perspective myself sometimes. So sorry for being a little tardy this morning. This morning, we're going to talk about core values, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. You know, core values are really at the foundation of how you live your life, of how you run your company, of who you surround yourself with, what that looks like. You know, how you make decisions in your life. How do you make decisions in your business? It's all tied to what I believe is, you know, the importance of core values and really identifying those things and just how you operate as a human being. So that's what we're going to talk about this morning. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life. And then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, what's happening, guys? It's good to be back in my normal habitat here, if you will. And I'm happy to be talking to you guys about something that is near and dear to my heart, which is core values. You know, how you operate and how you do things in your life and what do you stand for, and identifying those things is one of the most important things that you could ever do, right? Is just, you know, as they say, knowing where you come from, if you will, right? You know, knowing what it is that you stand for, what it is that you want to stand for, knowing what is actually, as the title of this show says, core values are non-negotiable. What is non-negotiable in your life, in your business? It is important for you to identify that, right? And once you identify these core values and you start to operate from the standpoint of always adhering to these core values, and you really identify what's important to you in your life and in your business, and you stick to that, man, incredible things happen because you start to be surrounded by the right people. You start to be able to make decisions less emotionally because they're all tied to the standard that you've set, the core value standard that is in your life. And so why core values are non-negotiable, I think, generally speaking, is pretty simple. There are things in your life that you feel so strongly about, those core values. You feel so strongly about them that they are not flexible, right? They are things that if you do not adhere to these things, then you are not going to be successful as a company. You're not going to feel good about your life if you don't have these things in it. And so I think that everybody, you know, has a set of core values that they probably identify with that they just may not have written down yet, or they may not have actually made clear what those values that they operate from are. And so I want to give you guys a little bit of an exercise here that will help you identify, you know, maybe what core values are important to you. So if you guys have a pen and paper, write this down. So I want you to take the 5 closest people to you in your life, the 5 people that you admire the most. And these people, you know, maybe some of these people aren't here anymore. Maybe these are people that you really looked up to. But the 5 people that you admire the most, and they could be 5 people that you spend the most time with, but identify those 5 people that you really, really admire. You know, maybe they're mentors, maybe they're family members, maybe they're grandparents. And then I want you to write those names down. And then I want you to, next to their names, I want you to write down 3 to 5 values or traits that you admire in those people the most. And I want you to think about this long and hard. Like, think about what it is that you admired the most about those people. And here's what's going to happen after you do that. You're going to list those 5 people, and then you're going to have the 3 to 5 traits or values that you really admire the most. And what's going to happen, guys, is that you're going to figure out what it is that you actually stand for, because what you admire in those people is most likely either what you already are or what you are striving to be. So some of those things, if you are nowhere near those values, then you have to be careful about assigning those things as a core value. Maybe it's something that you aspire to be in a person, like you really admire this one trait about somebody, but you don't have any of it at this point in your life. That's difficult to make a core value because you're not going to be able to operate from that space, right? So once you get that list, you're going to kind of combine those down, right? So, you'll figure out that, sometimes you'll have words that are very similar, like integrity and honesty. Well, they're the same, but they're different. If you actually break down the definitions of those words, they're a little bit different, aren't they? And so when you think about that, you want to identify which of those words do you want to live by? Do you want to live more with integrity, or do you want to live with honesty? There is a difference. And what's important to you, I think, will become clear as you go through this exercise and actually figure it out. But after you figure that out, and after you start, looking around your life, you have a set of values that you really want to operate from. I want you to look around your life at the people that maybe you have some issues with, you have some friction with. And I want you to think about the fact that maybe the reason you have issues with these people is that they don't have some of these traits that you are listing down on a piece of paper. Think about that for a second. How many people, if you go through your list of core values, how you actually see the world and how you operate, how many people do you have around you in your life that may not operate the same? And it is so, so important, guys, for you to identify what it is that you want and how you actually operate. Because if you don't identify that, you're going to continue to have people in your life that are not going to align, that are not going to be going the same direction. And so your life's going to move a lot slower. And so this is why core values and actually identifying them and then living by them is really a non-negotiable in anybody's life, right? But I think that so many of us, number one, we're not taught this. We're not taught to identify these things and to actually live by them. And number two, in a lot of cases, we are afraid of what happens if we really go through this list and we really start to identify who belongs and who doesn't. Because I think that, for a lot of us in our lives, we tend to keep people around, that are not really making the journey with us. And again, I am not a person that says like, oh, get these people out of your life. But it is, if you want to go to a new level, if you want to reach the next level from where you are, it is just a fact that not everybody will make that trip. And you have to remember that this is a choice that they are making, not that you are making. And it just comes down to what they want versus what you want, right? Another thing that I want to make sure that you guys hear this morning is that when it comes to core values, when it comes to principles, when it comes to how you live and how you decide on what is right and what is wrong, once you make this list, guys, it is, as the title of this show says, it is non-negotiable. And what that means, guys, and I see this all the time from people, is that they will set a list of core values. They will set the things that they actually want to live by, they actually want to stand for. But they only stand for those in situations that are easy. So if it's going to lose them a significant amount of money, or it's going to make them uncomfortable by having a conversation, or it's going to create some sort of negative conflict in their life, they will avoid holding people to these core values. I just want to be clear here. That means you do not have core values. If you are willing to flex on these things for money, for relationships, for time, for anything, or to avoid conflict, that is not an actual core value. That is something you wrote on a piece of paper that you want to be, you aspire to be. It's not a core value in your life or in your business. Core values are non-negotiable. They are not something that you are able to overlook, right? These are things that If you listen to any of the greats in business, they say we hire and fire based on our core values. That's it. All the other stuff, training, what people know, what they don't know, having a bad week, something going on at home, all those things can be coached through. But hiring and firing comes down to core values. And that's in business, but it's also in life, right? If you have a set of core values that you feel strongly about, those should be non-negotiable in your life. And I believe that the way you live, how you act out these core values, should make it clear to people what your core values actually are. And so core values are non-negotiable. They are not flexible. They are something that once you identify them, you will become very comfortable in your own life making decisions that used to make you anxious, because these core values become part of the fabric of who you are, part of the fabric of what people expect from you. And so as you figure out what these core values are by working through this exercise, and by the way, you can do the same exercise within your company. Take your leadership team and do that same exercise and start to look at what are the things that all of us as an organization value. What is at the core of who we are, and how are those things consistent across the leadership team? And what do we all agree that is non-negotiable in our business for us to be able to create success? These things become very clear as you have open conversation about it. And they are undeniable that what exists in your business, what you can encourage, what you can tolerate, and what you can't. Because we all know what the things are that make people not successful in our businesses, what make people not successful in life. So what are the core values that you're going to stand for that not only make you better, but make everybody that comes in contact with you, your company, your organization, the people you surround yourself with? What are the things that will make everybody that comes in contact with those people better? Think about it. If you can live by a set of core values that really serve you, you become an unstoppable force. You become so clear on what it is that you're going to accomplish and stand for that you become undeniable. And that's what happens. You can run through adversity. You can go through all kinds of things that might slow you down, might set you back, might whatever. But the destination of where you're going becomes undeniable because people can see what it is that you're setting out to do. Becomes extremely consistent, the delivery of how you do things, how you operate. Somebody used the word compromise. What you're willing to compromise on and what you are not. It is so important, guys, to identify this. And I think that, for a lot of people, they never really, I was one of them. I was never really aware of how important it was to identify the core values in your life and to live your life in accordance with those, regardless of how much pain comes along with it. Regardless of how much conflict or issues or whatever, you have to stand by a set of values or you will never feel like anything is certain in your life. If you don't have a set of core values that are non-negotiable, you will lack certainty in your life. Think about that. I think everybody has probably experienced it at some point in their life. Maybe you're experiencing it now. But it is so important for us to have this set of values that become just non-negotiable. That you identify what it is that you want to be and who you want to surround yourself with and how that's going to create the life that you want. And it becomes non-negotiable. And that's how you get from where you're at to where you want to go. I hope this message was helpful for you guys. If you have not shared this out yet, man, I would appreciate it if you would share it. We had an incredible podcast yesterday that launched that literally set records for this podcast and downloads in a single day. It is only available on audio right now. I will drop it in the links of the comments here, but it is an interview that I did with Mr. Ben Newman, who, for those of you who don't know Ben, he is the mental performance coach for Alabama football. He is actually headed to Alabama this morning. I just was texting with him before I jumped on here. He is headed to Alabama this morning for 3 days for camp, and he's just an incredible human being, man. I'm blessed to be able to call the guy a friend now. I met him a handful of months back here, and literally immediately felt like we were the best of friends our whole lives. We're around the same age, just believe the same things. Again, our core values really align. I think you guys will enjoy. It's an hour and 20-minute interview, and man, there is just some gold in there for anybody that's going through a tough time right now. I want you to go listen to that interview with Ben Newman and realize, this guy by anybody's definition is successful in today's world. Great family guy, man of faith, super successful in business. Coaches the Alabama Crimson Tide with Coach Nick Saban on mental strength and performance, by anybody's definition. And I want you guys to listen to it because you will hear the adversity that this guy went through in his life and just how he persevered, and he used that as fuel to take him to the places that he exists today and the success that he has today. And so I want you guys to go listen to that. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. It's a lengthy interview, and I wouldn't ask you to go listen to it if I didn't think that it would have a massive impact on your life. So wish you guys an amazing Thursday. Thank you guys for being here this morning. I appreciate all the support. All the podcast is just growing like crazy, guys. And that doesn't happen without you guys. And I don't ask for much. So you guys are doing that on your own, just sharing it out, tagging people, sharing the podcast via text or whatever way you're sharing it. And one thing that I will ask for, though, this morning, if you guys go to iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify or whatever it is, please leave a review for the podcast if you could. That's the way that it gets out naturally and organically to more people. So if you could leave a review on the podcast, just say a few words there, I would appreciate it because it would help us be able to reach more people through this platform. And certainly I think in this day and age, people need as much information, inspiration, and motivation as they can possibly get. So I appreciate you guys being here this morning. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day.